This is Politricking
On record, Tshidi.
with Tshidi Madia on EWN.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Politricking with myself, Tshidi Madia. We're on episode 13 of a politics podcast on EWN. So, if you remember the last episode, we spoke to Dalimpofu, not just as a member of the MKP, but like a broad general conversation. And in that conversation, I obviously brought up the issue of Floyd Shivambu. Dot, dot, dot. And then what happens is Floyd Shivambu gets removed, right, as the Secretary General of the MKP. There are people who don't want to read it as a demotion. I find it very difficult not to. To me, it feels like one. Floyd Shivambu never says yes to my interview request. Duduzile Zuma Sambula, who has been placed at the center of this by some people, also hasn't said yes. So I thought we won't leave this conversation. I think it matters, this conversation about what's happening in the MKP. MKP is one of our largest political parties in the country. What happens with this party matters to many people. It's still a vehicle even for people ahead of the local government elections, ahead of 2029. So I thought, why not try to look at different sides of this coin, right? So I then thought about Patrick Sindane, because when Floyd was demoted, Patrick Sindane called it a demotion. Patrick Sindane quit the MKP, and then he said, Duduzile has won. And I was like, but somebody else has to speak for this party, and not a spokesperson, but somebody who's prominent and who hasn't been afraid to say what they believe is issue. Enter Mary Phadi. Now, Mary Phadi, you might know from Mpumalanga and the MKP. She's also had her own run-ins with the political party, but she's also been very clear about what she thinks of the Secretary General. I was watching a podcast where she spoke about how he didn't even greet. So I wanted to speak to her, get her perspective as somebody in the party who, I think, if you are paying attention, or if you're not, you need to pay attention. If you're paying attention to her, you're doing the right thing. If you're not, I think you need to pay more attention as we head towards local government elections. I think Mary is going to be crucial to what the MKP does in Mpumalanga and possibly at national going forward. So I'll start this conversation with Mary very quickly, who's joining me virtually. Mary, hi, welcome to Politricking. Malikai. I want to speak about Tabaya Floyd. You've been very clear about what you think of Floyd Shivambu. So when the news came out that he is being removed as Secretary General, what was your first thought?
Look, the background of that matter was already clear. When you get ground forces that are saying hands off to someone before something has happened, it means they knew. And hence we wanted to correct, or I wanted to correct that with the video to say, you cannot say hands off before we even get the news. Now that they've already said hands off, we knew there's something within MK party that the SG is going to be removed. When he was removed, I was excited. I was happy, the way I was happy when he joined Mkhonto Sizwe. I was happy that he's not going to be part of us. On the ground from the political point of view, though, if they've taken him to parliament, he can go there. But within the structures, it is exciting to see that Floyd Shivambu has been removed.
Let's speak about the differences. You were excited when he was announced. You say you're excited when he leaves. How did you go from, oh my goodness, this is a fantastic value add to the MKP on the ground as a secretariat, to, oh my goodness, thank goodness is out the door of the secretariat? How did you go from the one to the other? Those are very extreme ends.
Look, Floyd has nobody to blame but himself. I don't know what he has done within a structure at the high level. I'm not part of that, but I can tell you what is happening with provinces. One of the things that he did is that he followed the propaganda to the extent that he ended up piloting the things that he should not be involved in. If you come in as the Secretary General in any organization, you first engage with the people that are running, in those provinces. And he decided not to go that route and decided to write 2 letters to remove me from the legislature. For no reason. I don't know him. and he decided to do that, and he was surely destabilizing the ground, because every time when there's an issue, his letters were all over the social media. So it was worrying to say, how do you get the Secretary General that is just taking a propaganda and run with it as if he knows he was there when Mkhonto Wesizwe started?
There are people who believe that, not even calling it a parallel structure, but who believe that Floyd Shivambu was there to try and launch a coup, that he wanted to take over the MKP. Were you one of those? Did you believe that those people are correct to think that he wanted a complete takeover of the organization?
Look, Floyd came very late in the province. His last meeting was in Sabi, and the last time he came for the task team. So he was not really involved in the province. So I'm not quite sure whether he was putting together that coup, or maybe trying to do something against Mkhonto Wesizwe. But all that I can tell is that his actions or his personality, I think it came at the wrong time in Mkhonto Wesizwe, because we are fragile. Remember, we started in December 2023.
Yes.
There was no budget to run this organization, unlike other political parties. And as he came, he couldn't even think that we had to go through a rough time, the sweat, the challenges, the sacrifices that we did. Some of the people have lost their lives. So he does not know that. All that he knows is that he came in as a SG, and now he's giving his directive as a leader of Mkhonto Wesizwe, without really getting a background of where we come from. Because even if you arrive in an organization and they tell you about somebody else, get facts right. Today, they don't have any fact against my name, because it was a propaganda. So why should he follow that and destabilize Mpumalanga province? We had to stand on our own and not even call him in our meetings. We did not have him attending any of our programs, and our programs were doing very well without him being here.
Do you think he was looking out for Advocate Busum Mkhwebane's interest in Mpumalanga?
Definitely, because if you look at how Busio Mkhwebane was announced, he quickly came to the province, established a task team, and later on that task team was removed. They put in another detachment, and that detachment is also falling apart. The people that are there in the detachment are the people that everybody was asking themselves is that, how did they get here? But it is very clear that he had his own people that he was thinking about. And most of the people that he thought about were the people that are former EFF members, which is what was worrying to us.
So that thing is real. There are people who felt that they were founding members and they felt that they were being replaced by former EFF members, because that view doesn't go away either. It's something that you keep hearing in passing, that there were people who felt that they were trying to be replaced. You replace the constitution of the MKP with one similar to the EFF. You try and replace people and structures with people formerly of the EFF. So that thing was a real issue felt on the ground.
It indeed, we not that we are feeling that MKP is owing us positions, not in that manner. But we need to bring in mind that everybody that took an initiative to go to the street and make sure that Mkhonto Wesizwe in Mpumalanga province gets to challenge the 72% of the ANC and drop it down to 54 or 52%. It means that there's a lot of efforts that people have bring in. Now, if you don't know what had happened in Mpumalanga, and you come in from national, and you remove the people that were trying to maneuver for the win of this political party, that's what you are going to expect. And we are expecting the new Secretary General that is coming to do the same thing, not to come in. I'm hoping that they are not going to bring somebody from outside that does not know what was happening. I'm really hoping, and a person that will not be understanding the ground. Political parties differ. You cannot go to the EFF and the ANC and want to bring in your own culture. They're gonna kick you away. So we've got our own way of doing things in Mkhonto Wesizwe, their own way of saying that we can survive, we can make it. The Green Friday is a program that we've put together as Mkhonto Wesizwe. throughout the country. Everybody's running with that, and there's no funding for that program. But we are running. So I'm saying that whoever that is coming must come thinking very well as to how are they going to deal with us as sensitive as we are on the ground without really rejecting the people that have worked.
Do you have names, ideas of who you would like to see appointed to that position?
It will be in the discretion of the president, because in Umkhonto weSizwe we haven't been to the conference. We haven't been given an opportunity to vote for a person, but in Umkhonto weSizwe we get to be appointed. So with that, we will respect the decision of President Jacob Zuma as to who is coming. But whoever that is coming must be set down and be given a proper induction, because our Tshidi, I can't need to travel.
Utlabona. That sounds like a warning already before they start. And considering how many people have been in that particular position of SG in the MKP, it feels like a poison chalice. The issue that some have raised around this issue, they make it about former President Jacob Zuma's daughter. A lot of people make it about Duduzile Zuma Sambudla. Your interpretation of people placing her at the center, saying the unwritten rule, the unspoken rule, is that this is actually her party. That's why it's difficult for things to form, for stability, for all of those things to take shape. What's your perspective on those claims?
That will not be correct. Remember that anyone has got access to the president, and the president gets to be advised by the traditional houses, gets to be advised by politicians, gets to be advised by his family, the way things need to happen, gets to be advised by ground forces. So I wouldn't believe that specific that Comrade Tutuzile Zuma fees that the political parties has. I would say that anyone that is challenging decisions that are not fair, that person gets to be given an opportunity to be able to say, I don't like what is happening in Umkhonto weSizwe. Like myself, I came out last week with the fact that there were people that were writing letters and say Mpumalanga province is saying hands off to Floyd. And the Mpumalanga ground forces, seeing me as a leader, they wanted me to say something because they felt like things are getting out of hand. Whereas they are saying in Mpumalanga, they should not put all of us in that basket. They must talk for themselves. So we wanted to correct it so that the ground doesn't get to be confused. I'm saying that Tutuzile Zuma is very close to the president, obviously as her father, but in that process, it doesn't mean that she's the only one that has got a voice to the president to advise or to give the president a proposal. Because if we are saying that she is controlling Umkhonto weSizwe, I don't think that many comrades would have been here, because I don't think she would be associating with everybody in an organization. That will be impossible. You've got a way of engaging with other people, and sometimes you don't like other people, and it's normal. It's human nature.
I think she was in Mpumalanga quite recently. Did you speak to her about the vision of the party going forward and about the issues that are there and ways towards navigating those issues and moving past them?
Look, that meeting specific when she was here in Mpumalanga was a meeting where I was called in, and I'm happy that I was given an opportunity to present the sequence of events in Mpumalanga. I brought it in a file of CD, a file, packed with every evidence that you can think of, from the beginning of those letters to the end. So when they were here with the president, the three of us, we were discussing about what had happened, and she asked me questions of saying, one of the questions that she asked, and I really appreciated that question. She said to me, don't you think that people think the auditors that are currently auditing the Umkhonto weSizwe books in Mpumalanga? I said to her, I've never met with them. I don't know them. And because of the unqualified opinion audit that we've been receiving. They now call it a clean audit, but the right to unqualified audit opinion. So in that, for me, I got excited because she got a chance to ask that question. The propaganda was saying Mary has misused the funds for her own interest. Now, quarterly, the legislature does receive first the audit report before they release the funds. So it meaning I've been receiving the clean audits throughout. So she wanted to check as to what if people are thinking that those auditors in Mpumalanga that are auditing the books. And guess what? I don't know them. I've never been with them. I've never spoken to them because they are dealing with the office, the officials in the office. But I did not go there because I knew that I was doing what is correct. So in that meeting, I brought in a file, and that file was talking to everything that Umkhonto Wesizwe was writing to me and everything that I was responding to. So you can clearly see that the campaign against me was very strong. And thank God, Tshidi, I stood up and I went to the court of law because that will be the only place where they can bring evidence. And there in the court of law, you bring your evidence, I bring my evidence, everything is fair. And to date, MK has not brought in evidence. They wrote another affidavit lately, and they are saying the reason why they would want to see this interim court order reversed is because I am calling meetings. Really, I'm calling meetings because I'm the rightful convener. So I'm really surprised that every day they are putting themselves into the mud instead of bringing evidence to say we do now have evidence against Comrade Mary Phadi, and then they don't have that evidence.
There's still no evidence. Do you think Busiswa Mkhwebane should be comfortable in the MKP in Mpumalanga, or are her days numbered?
Mkhwebane, it's long gone in the province. She should not be here. That move of bringing Busiswa Mkhwebane in the province was a wrong move. And again, it came when they were thinking that Mpumalanga is not stable. With the conflicts that we used to have, myself with General Tafu Mdluli, and they were taking all that propaganda that have misused funds and all that. So from the propaganda, they thought that Mpumalanga is not stable. Whereas when we in Mpumalanga, we were saying that it is good for politics for us to get conflicts within the province, but we didn't want somebody from outside to come and tell us how things should be done. So Busiswa Mkhwebane must be taken back wherever she was. I'm not going to say to the EFF because the EFF, most of the people even send me messages, don't send Floyd back to us. Keep your own politics.
They don't want
So
Floyd. They don't want Busiswa Mkhwebane back. Interesting
I'm not
times.
going to send her back. I am saying that she is right here in Umkhonto Wesizwe, but she must be deployed to the correct position.
Ideally, what
Umkhonto
would that
Wesizwe
be?
must have a legal team. Umkhonto Wesizwe must have a legal team that would be dealing with investigating the corruption within the ANC, the corruption that would be able to assist provinces to challenge any matter that is there. You know that I'm sitting in the Scopa, and there's quite a lot of cases where we get to be involved to resolve matters within the legislature. But sometimes we go to a project once or twice and we don't go back to resolve it. There's a processes that must go. Now you need a legal team within Umkhonto Wesizwe that will sit there and we go to that office to say, here is the matter and this matter needs to be addressed. You cannot think that Busiswa Mkhwebane is a ground force. She cannot be a ground force. She's office, so she needs to go back to the office and leave us on the ground because politics doesn't work like that. And President Jacob Zuma must know that very well. So that's why Busiswa Mkhwebane will never be in the province. And beyond that, if she continues doing what she's doing, we'll have to no choice but to charge her on contempt of court, and we are giving MK an opportunity to resolve this matter because it's not a joke. They blame me for what I did not do, and now they need to correct the wrongdoings that they've done for placing her here.
Okay, so they must find a different purpose for it, and there's one that you suggested that makes sense. The issue of a conference. Where do you stand? The MKP doesn't have a conference. Advocate Dalimpofu saying that it makes the party agile, so you can respond to issues almost immediately. But there's frustration in you can be appointed and demoted at a whim, as it's happened to Floyd Shivambu. What do you want to see? Are you not interested in a conference, seeing what ground forces actually want, as opposed to being picked and prodded and then demoted at a whim?
I think the way things are in Mkhonto Wesizwe, I feel comfortable with them. We can go to the conference later. I don't know what does the IEC policy say about the political party going to the conference. I don't know how much period do they give them to go to the conference, because currently we should be having a national interim committee. So we cannot have a national high command because we haven't been to the conference. We must have a national interim executive committee that should be sitting. So already you can tell that the current constitution is something that we can engage on a later stage at CD one day when we meet again. But for now, MK is correct by doing the way they are doing, because MK is a threat to the left wing. We have shown everybody that without being in politics, we can change the country. And because of that reason, if we go to the conference early, not saying that we shouldn't. If the president says we go to the conference, it's not a problem. But with my view says we are correct the way we are. With this fact, of city, we are going to have suitcases flying around at night. People wanting to buy positions, and we will be in deeper trouble the way we are. Maybe because we are still young in politics as an organization, it is good for the president to make decisions that are correct. It is good for the provinces to make decisions that are correct of the people that they appoint in their provinces. Yes, I would say for now the conference is not needed now that we are still putting our house in order.
Patrick Sindane, when I spoke to him about what's happening with Floyd Shivambu, he said it's purely about succession. The people in the MKP don't want to speak about what happens after former President Jacob Zuma, but that is an inevitable conversation, in part because of his advanced age. Your take on the issue of succession, whether or not it should be an open conversation that's managed now, or you kind of have to wait it out and see what happens?
Being led by President Jacob Zuma with his wisdom, he has already told the country what will be the way forward. If you look at the constitution, the royal houses are on top of the list. And when he was presenting about this political party, he kept on saying that we need the upper house where the kings will be in charge. He went on to say that even the people who are taking positions as a councillor. I wanted that position as a councillor. Councillors thinking that they are more powerful than the local chiefs or the kings within their space. So he was very clear about that, to say royal houses will take decisions. And I still say that should President Jacob Zuma be not there, I am not worried about the political party, because if you are not absorbing the Amakos or the royal houses, we are going to have a problem. But he has already done that. That's the first step that he did. So we will be correctly led by the traditional leaders, and I can assure you that we wouldn't have a problem. I'm really not worried. The chess master, President Jacob Zuma, will surprise us, giving us the people that will be able to give guidance, and there wouldn't be any conflict.
I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much, my Mary. This is Mary Phadi. We will speak about women in the MKP. There's so much to dissect, even about her career. But that conversation, I promise you, will happen before the end of the year. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you very much, Tshidi.
So I've tried to reach out to Floyd Shivambu and for as long as I can remember, I've never gotten a yes to any of the requests coming from me by Floyd Shivambu. At some point, I tried to reach out to Duzile, Zuma Sambudla also, not affirmative. But the story still matters. It's one of the largest political parties in the country. What happens to Floyd Shivambu is also very interesting to me. Some people believe that they'll see him, sottering, making his way into parliament because that's what he's been deployed to now, redeployed to. I don't know if we'll see Floyd Shivambu in parliament. I'd heard that his name wasn't appearing on lists. The MK has an opportunity to replenish its list. I'm hearing his name is not there. So it'll be interesting if they announce that he indeed is going to parliament. There are rumors that he's starting a political party. I also don't know about that. But our politicians suffer from so much hubris that all of them believe that they can start a political party. All of them believe that it can be a success. Even though we see how difficult it is to run political parties. What I do know for a fact is an MKP splinter party already exists. Start Googling and looking for words around Umbuto. Umbuto. Oh, starting with my nose. Sorry, pick up. Start Googling and looking for words like umbuto, something along those lines. It does exist. People who are part of the MK picture, the DNA of the MKP, I believe, are in this. So think about churches, think about traditional leaders, think about a picture I once posted on social media where there was a meeting between the EFF and the MKP. Some of the people in that picture might be behind this, maybe not. But it'll be interesting to see where that takes us and whether or not Ace Makashvili becomes part of the conversation as well at this point in time. And whether or not Floyd, going back to Floyd, is a part of that picture will be another interesting element to all of this. Let's wait and see. So I already did say to you, I'll be speaking to two people. So we spoke to Mary. You got Mary Phadi's perspective. She's excited that this chapter of Floyd Shivambu on the ground has been closed, right? So the day Floyd Shivambu was being moved to Parliament, so to say, Patrick Sindane then went on Twitter saying, no, this is a demotion. Further than that, he said, Dudu Zile has won. He's joining me in studio now to try and make sense of what that moment meant. So to you, the decision from the MKP was actually quite clear. There was no confusion about what the party was doing.
Yeah, no, definitely. And thank you for having us. And we still maintain even today, we are one of the first people who raised our dissatisfaction and we did not mince our words. That is a very, 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 I would say, politically stupid decision. It was immature of the leadership to basically take such a drastic step. I think there could have been a way of handling whatever the issues were there, but it was a demonstration that it was a plan that has been there for a very long time. I think they were waiting for a very good opportunity to execute their plan, and they found some sort of a reason in relation to the trip of Floyd going to Bushiri.
But you didn't sense that there were other problems in the lead up to this? Because for some people, Mary Phadi says there were already people saying hands off the SG, so something was brewing. We saw the commentary. A lot of people said that he wouldn't last. I mean, Floyd Shivambu was the 6th Secretary General. It is a poison chalice. It doesn't last. You didn't see the signs coming?
Well, it's quite obvious that there was some sort of some sort of a rejection, from those who already held a particular view. He was not warmly welcomed, but he's not a small boy. He knew exactly what he's getting himself into. But I think this thing, it was given, too much room for it continue, because obviously it was not only the rejection coming from the ground, but it was also a rejection coming from the leadership. But they could not come out. But members have got nothing to lose. Hence, they would be able to say whatever they feel like saying. But leadership obviously have to play a diplomacy there and there. But we could see from a distance that is going to have a very serious mountain to climb. But of course, he was equal to the task. So, yeah.
Do you think he must go to Parliament, or do you think it's time to call it quits? Follow your lead.
Well, I think Parliament is too small for Floyd. He's been in Parliament. He knows the Parliament in and out. We all know what he's capable of. I think he will still do a very wonderful job there. We don't know what is the reason behind his deployment to parliament, but politically, for a man who has got such a very rich track record when it comes to leadership, he should be knowing where he is, that this is some way of undermining. I'm not saying all of the people who are deployed in parliament are being undermined. Of course, there are people who should serve in parliament. I mean, MK has got seats, therefore it must have people who represent it. But for you to leave a political party like the EFF as a deputy president, and then join MK, and then you are made a national organizer, and then quickly moved into the position of the Secretary General, and then quickly removed, deployed to parliament, and then your deployment is called strategic. Clearly, he understands politics more than a whole lot of those people who want to see him gone into MK, and he should be knowing that. I mean, really, what exactly is it that he has not contributed in South African politics, particularly in parliament? So I don't think it will be a wise move for him to go to parliament, but it's a decision that he will make on his own. I don't have a problem with that. But personally, I don't think I would accept such a deployment because, like I said in the previous interview we had, Floyd was supposed to move from the Secretary General position to a more senior position politically. So if now you are moved from the Secretary General and you're deployed to be an ordinary member of parliament, and then it's called a chess game, and then you fall into that trap, really, I don't think that will be a wiser decision to make. But of course, it is decision. You will see how he moves.
The idea of him moving to a more senior decision, that would leave the deputy presidency and the presidency of the MKP. That's the conversation. That's where it leads us.
Yeah.
For some people, there was an attempt to launch a coup of sorts to try and take over the MKP. That's part of the problem they're associated with Floyd Shivambu.
Well, the reality of the situation is that the issues of succession in the MK should be discussed, whether we like it or not. And it should not be seen as a coup.
Life beyond former President Jacob Zuma is inevitable. He's also at an advanced age, of course.
Yes. No, definitely. The issues of succession must be discussed in the MK. And those who are interested in discussing such issues, particularly members, must not be seen as people who are trying to orchestrate some coup. It's the constitutionally guaranteed right. They should be in a position to say, this is the type of leadership we are looking forward to. So I don't know whether Floyd and whoever were busy orchestrating something underground somewhere that looks like a coup. I don't believe there's such a thing. But the issues of succession must be discussed in MK because, we all know now Msholo is extremely old now. And it will only make sense that people start engaging now as to who must take over. And I still say that Floyd can't be moved from such a senior position to parliament and then only to be told that it's a strategic move. If he should go back into MK, into some sort of a senior political leadership, he should serve in an office that he never occupied previously, national organizer and secretary. He should be given a more serious role, either as a deputy or the president, and he's fit for that.
Do you think Floyd's also paused to reflect on his own character? You know, there's a conversation to be had, right? There's a view about his personality, his lack of charisma. I mean, people are talking about starting a political party, and it goes down to Floyd Asimutuabatu. That's the interpretation that you get. People in the MKP also speak about that. Like, here's a person who doesn't even greet. Here's a person, when he left the EFF, in fact, many said he'd not succeed because Asimutuabatu. Do you think those reflections are happening about where he also fails as a leader?
Well, it's quite obvious, Tshidi. If you are leadership, you'll never be liked by anyone. You know, I mean, if you want to be a leader and lead people honestly, you don't have to be more concerned about what people say. There are people who will be liking you, there are people who won't like you. And unfortunately, Floyd was found in that thing. I mean, it's not possible to be accusing a person or a Hadu Medisi, such petty things. I mean, how do you start?
I don't think that's petty, actually,
it is
to be honest.
for me because you can never start any organizational meeting without greeting. No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, fair,
you
fair,
can't start
fair
any
point.
organizational meeting without greeting. That's number one. And when the leadership arrives, but people are already waiting for you. It's not possible that he will just pass people as if there's nobody waiting for him there. He
But
greets
Patrick,
those
that's what
who have
people
worked with
describe,
him.
though.
I've
People
worked
like
with
him
him.
describe this.
I've worked with Floyd, and it's not possible that he can just pass you.
Mama
But when
Thobela
people
Maka,
want to deal
because they
with
just
you,
don't
they will
like
look for something. They will look for something, and if something does not exist, they create it. It's politics.
Or fair point. So
Yes.
we're dealing with a character that's been described that's not necessarily who you think he is. I think if you ask journalists as well, I don't think a lot of journalists think Floyd
I
Kimtoka.
cannot sit here and agree with that view that I'm not. I've never been exposed to. I
Fair
can only
point.
speak to the Floyd that I know.
And we can
And it's
also,
only
I'm a
fair.
journalist. And I say, when
Yes.
journalists say
Yes.
Hanaboto,
Yes.
I don't think they're lying. I've kind of seen it as well.
I don't-
So I take that.
Then
Fair point. You
yes.
can have different experiences with the same
Exactly.
person. That's what
Sure.
that is. Your experiences in the MKP
Yeah.
as an ordinary member,
Yes.
what was that like for you coming from the Red Berets?
No. I think what Floyd is going through, we all somehow went through it. And that's why we speak comfortably and openly to say this is nonsense and it must come to an end. Now, of course, we're no longer members now, but we can give you a true reflection. It's what we went through. I mean, I would personally be deployed to go and assist with by-elections in West Rand. When you arrive, people who don't even understand the politics, they say, no, he's here, he wants to take our position, he wants to be a councillor in West Rand. But it's by-elections, bro, we're here to help you. Then they call agent meetings and say, no, Sindane is here, wants to take West Rand now. They left EFF, that is their plan, the plans to come and take over MK. You go to the city of Johannesburg, you go and assist with the by-elections because we know this game. Same thing. No, now West Rand has rejected him. He did not emerge as a councillor. I mean, I was not contesting by-election. It's the party that was contesting by-election. You start appreciating the type of people you are dealing with. And everyone is talking about 2026. No, it's our turn now. They had their opportunities in the EFF. They want to disrupt us here. We formed this organization without them. Now they are here. No, they must go back where they come from. So it has always been there. But we're not crybabies. That's why we never complained about anything. Even now, we're not complaining. It's just that we never used to speak too much in relation to what is happening in South African politics. We feel like that's the mistake that we've been doing. So we're free now to speak. Because inside the organization, we respect organizational protocols and all that stuff. You'll never find me talking to media. I've been in the EFF for 10 years. I've never conducted
No,
a media
you
interview.
actually never.
Exactly, because I know there are people who can do that better than me, minus to work the ground. But now I'm free now, so I can speak.
So what happens next for you? If Floyd starts a party tomorrow, if Mr. Vambu launches an organization tomorrow, would you consider joining?
If he wants to start a political party, I would advise him not to stop. He can continue doing that. He's capable of leading a political party. He has been tried and tested. As to me, whether will I follow him or what, I think it's a decision that I will have to take in time because I've just resigned now. It's not like I've got an agent somewhere who's checking my political moves and say, hey, there's an opportunity here. Just want to sit and reflect and check. But definitely I'll still be in politics. I mean, if I give up in politics, I'll basically be giving up on the project of trying to contribute and saving our country. And I think South African politics can still work. Therefore, if those who want to know if I'll still be in politics, of course I'll still be in politics. I don't think July, I can pronounce exactly what is my next
That's
move.
just around the corner.
Yes.
And then just lastly, the future for the MKP, what do you see?
I see more instability. I see more instability in the MK because, number one, those of us who decided to join MK, we joined MK because the reason we never joined it as our first home after leaving EFF, it was precisely for the issues of instability. Now, when Floyd joined, he represented what we saw lacking in the MK. And that's why most of us who are used to the organizational cultures and processes, we felt that at least now we can associate ourselves with this organization. Now they've dealt with him. And then you've got Duduzile Zuma who says we don't care what happens outside as long as it makes sense in the inside. I mean, the people who vote, ordinary voters, are interested in knowing what is happening in the MK. You must persuade people. A party must be attractive, and it must make sense to the people that you are looking to garner votes from. So if a leader would just proudly say we don't care how people view us, then you know that we lack serious leadership here, and there's going to be more crisis because it looks like it's an issue of factions now. No, he's gone. Now we're in charge. And what matters now is who is inside and then whatever plans that they have. So I think MK is going to have a whole lot of serious issues because I don't think the incoming secretary, I don't know who. I don't think the incoming secretary will have it nicely, Leon. What they do now, they must expect it will be done to them. Because MK is no longer that smaller than a political party that was seen to be a part of KZN. Floyd gave it some sort of a national footprint, even though it was not established the whole country. But the view is that it was taking a shape of being a political party. That's why it attracted people in Limpopo, Mpumalanga, and all that stuff, and then started growing bit by bit. It is because people realized what they can associate with it. It's no longer a party that is seen as a regional party. But now, the manner in which it's been handled, I think President Zuma missed an opportunity by not disciplining Duduzile Zuma, or Akile this thing, or this is a family party, Abulai this thing, or no, this, even if you are my daughter. But when it comes to organizational processes and discipline, it shall be applied. He has missed that opportunity. He has missed an opportunity of presenting where MK does a practice discipline. And therefore, it's too late, unfortunately. I don't think we'll still view it the same way.
I can't let you go without saying this. So you said Duduzile won.
Yes, she has won.
It's a family party for you.
Definitely. She has won. Duduzile has won. We know. Look, if Duduzile wants to lead MK, which is not, there's nothing wrong with it. She must not lead MK through a back door, through a party asekayala. And the attitude that she's displaying now, you can see from a distance. You don't have to be a member of the MK. And I think she likes this social media hype. Jacob Zuma will never choose a stranger over a daughter. Of course, I will never do that. But when it comes to family matters, politically, I will chop my son's head if he behaves in such a way that destroys the future of South Africans, people who have identified MK as their political home for now and for the future. I will chop my son's head off and put him home and say, Muna, go and stay home. You are destroying this beautiful organization of the people. But she knows that, of course, Baba will choose her side, which is it's not a problem. But it goes to that stereotype. This is a family project. And he has failed to save Libizola MK when it comes to such accusations.
Yeah, okay. Only time will tell. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick.
Sure.
This is Politricking
On record, Tshidi.
with Tshidi Madia on EWN.